For the sports lovers out there who like to get their gamble on, whether it be on the NBA games, NFL, Major League Soccer, even National Hockey League, Major League Baseball, even college sports, go to betus.com to make that bet. If you use the promo code TKT for the Clown Times, you get up to 125% of sign-up bonus, which is up to $2,500. Another perk you can see, you can bet on the go, which means you can bet anytime, anywhere on your mobile device. You get fast payouts, so you can get your payouts immediately every single time. Do not have to wait. And you can do live betting when you can bet during the game, whether it's early or the best lines, you can do it all. So anyway, please sign up for betus.com. Use the promo code TKT for the Clown Times. You'll be able to do so right. Check out betus.com, where the game begins. Welcome to this week's edition of the Clown Hour Podcast. I'm Scott Burks. Hello. You find my sports blog, The Clown Times, on the web at www.theclowntimes.net. You find me on Facebook as well, whether you're on your smartphone, laptop, desktop, wherever you are. Wherever it may be, just type The Clown Times in. You'll find me there as well. Also, speaking of the hat, you can get the merch at cafepress.com. Search for Clown Times Sports. I have that link in the description below when I upload this to YouTube. So you find the gear there as well. And also, one more thing. Please continue to like, comment, share, and subscribe. I'll be glad you did, and you'll be glad you did. I'm up over 400 subscribers now, thanks to you all. I celebrate the small victories. So yay for 100. So I'm hoping to get over 1,000 by year's end. Almost halfway there. So anyway, please continue to like, share, comment, subscribe, and hit the bell button so you can get your notifications when videos such as this appears on my YouTube channel. So you get it there as well. So we are wrapping up the NBA coverage for the spring for the 2021-2022 season with the NBA Finals, which is the unconventional NBA Finals because you don't have any number one seeds involved. I don't remember the last time that was ever the case. I'm sure my guest will know. Speaking of which, he's like, I don't know either. He was one of my partners on his show, the Weekend Adjustments, every Saturday on WMOH, The Ticket, on 1450 AM, I think it was, in Hamilton, Ohio. We're both cooling right now. So my man Kevin McCune is back with my favorite NBA guys. So what's going on, Kevin?
Nothing much. Summer break just hit for me as a teacher, so that's nice. But I've got a lot of grad school homework, so I'm working on stats right now.
Oh wow,
not sports stats, So I wish it was sports stats, but it's a lot. I'm doing all right.
Hey, blink twice if you're not doing okay. But hey, man. Right quick before we get started, man, I don't think, and I'm not saying this because you're on, but I just have respect for teachers nationwide, especially. You guys don't get enough credit for teaching our students, teaching our youth, especially in this pandemic climate, so COVID climate. So props to you and other teachers out there doing the hard work, educating our future generations, and and hopefully everyone else in the world salutes you because you guys deserve it as teachers, man. So much respect, man.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you.
No worries. And it seems like you're leaving one set of work for the other for your graduate school work, so it never ends. NBA playoffs. So, this has been a very interesting NBA playoffs. As I mentioned earlier, Boston being a 2 seed. Well, actually, we got two seed. No, a 2 seed and a 3 seed. Excuse me. 3 seed in Golden State. This is very unconventional NBA Finals.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what, it presents a tantalizing matchup there. You have team defense in Boston versus team offense and Golden State, which Golden State can play some defense too if need be. But right. It's interesting contrast of styles because the offense of Golden State, you see how basketball, as old school guys like I say, I would say would be like, it's meant to be played. Constant movement. Everyone touches the ball. You have your deadly scorers and Stephen Curry and Klay Thompson being sharpshooters. Right. But you also have other guys like Jordan Poole, Draymond Green is a leader, he's a quarterback. And Wiggins, that Wiggins kid is doing the damn thing too. So I'm happy for him. So it's going to be interesting to see how that Boston defense contains that free-flowing offense. I have some thoughts as a matchup player, but I'm going to give your thoughts real quick on what do you expect to see in this NBA Finals?
Yeah, no, I think you hit on it. It's two contrasting styles. Boston might have the best defense we've seen, in the NBA in a really long time.
Right.
Just how they've kind of their blueprint to success this season. And on the flip side, this has kind of been a resurgent year for Golden State and for Warriors fans. Thompson's been hurt the last few years. They've kind of taken a back seat, and now that they're all healthy again, they've kind of restaken their claim to the top of the league. As far as this series go, I think if you look at just briefly touching on the Western Conference Finals, I mean, Jokic was the top scorer in 3 of the 5 games, and it didn't matter. Dallas only got one of them. And sorry, not Jokic. Luka Doncic. Yeah, sorry.
I was going to let that slide.
No, I got it. Yeah, I was like, I said it wrong. Doncic was the top scorer in 3 of the 5 games, and so their guys are going to be able to get theirs, I think, against Golden State. They gave up 106 points per game in the Western Conference Finals. And then on the flip side, Boston faced a Miami team who's very similar to them as far as a lot of defensive players. But they have their guys that can get it done on offense, like Jimmy Butler. Namely, he was the top scorer in 4 games in the Eastern Conference Finals, but Miami only won 2 of those. So I think while certain guys are going to get theirs, I think that just personally, and we can get more into it as we go on, I think I like Boston a lot. I like just looking at those numbers because, there are multiple guys for Boston. When you look down the list who are going to be able to get theirs, they had 7 guys average at least 8 points per game or more in the Eastern Conference Finals. Mm-hmm. I think that they have a lot of experts are saying that Golden State is the team with more depth in this series. I think that while that might be true, I think we undersell maybe the depth that the Celtics have a little bit when that's kind of been one of the storylines. So that's what I'll lead off with.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned the depth of Golden State because they have the depth lineup, if you will, that we all know about. I know that it wasn't that Andre Iguodala is not healthy as fast. He's going to be out in the series, as well as Gary Payton II would be out, even though they're optimistic that the Warriors being optimistic that Gary Payton will be back sooner rather than later. But if you look past the starting 5, which includes like Jonathan Kuminga, you still have and they say Otto Porter Jr. is supposed to be day to day. So they're optimistic getting him back as well. But you have Kevon Looney, I think it's going to be huge. Mm-hmm. We already mentioned Jordan Poole. Damian Lee is named to watch as well. So basically, if Otto Porter Jr. is healthy, you're going to have pretty much Kevon Looney, Otto Porter Jr., Jordan Peele, and Damian Lee, ready to roll. And so, that'll be, to your point about depth, that's going to be huge for Golden State. Mm-hmm. Now, I guess for Boston, I think Robert Williams is still day to day as well. Which is unfortunate, like because he is their defensive anchor, and you still have. Let me pull Boston up right quick. And that's not letting me be great. Sometimes you cue stuff up, you think it's there, and then it's just goes gonzo on you. Yeah, here we go. So Robert Williams III is day to day. You got Daniel Tice coming off the bench. You have Grant Williams as well. I forgot him, and Peyton Pritchard, double P. So. Or P squared, as some people call them. So basically, they go a solid 8. Now, this again, it depends on Robert Williams III's health. Otherwise, you're gonna have to look at Derek White as well. So he's also like legit as well. So you're looking at 90, which would be huge in a series like this. So it's maybe a classic war of attrition. You know what I'm saying? But I mean, we already mentioned Boston, so we might as well talk matchups. I mean, to me, this is where the series is going to be won or lost. It's cool to have two Greg Popovich disciples in the finals, right? One of them being a rookie head coach, and Ime Udoka, and of course, Steve Curry being Golden State's coach. Again, this is a display for fans and the rest of the NBA at that of how basketball is supposed to be played. Hard defense, grit for Boston, and they move the ball around too. Golden State, you can see the free flow. We already know about the free flow in the offense. So to James Harden's out there, to the Kevin Durant's out there, to fans out there, this is how basketball is supposed to be played. Okay, I'm gonna go for old guys. Get back here. So matchups, yeah. So to me, I believe Udoka is going to put Smart on Steph Curry, have him hounded. He's the defensive player of the year after all, right? He hounded Kyrie Irving. He hounded Drew Holiday. And of course, he took turns hounding Jimmy Butler. So, I mean, it's not like he can't do. Jayson Tatum, the same thing. He can play what this defense, what this year's playoff shows is that Jayson Tatum can play some defense. He helped give Kevin Durant fits as the primary defender. And he did a very unselfishly, did a damn good job. He did the same, took turns guarding Giannis. And I think he may have taken turns playing Jimmy Butler as well as like what's the other kid? He's not really a kid anymore. Came off the bench for Miami. I think Victor Oladipo. He also took turns guarding him as well. So Boston legit defensively. We haven't mentioned Al Horford or Grant Williams and Robert Williams as well. And Jaylen Brown can play some defense too. So this is okay. So this is what I think is going to happen. I think Smart's going to be the primary defender of Steph. Once Golden State breaks the pick and roll, and they're hoping for the switch, I'm thinking that what Udoka should do is double Steph right away. Make him get rid of the ball. Frustrate the hell out of him. And then just, you see Boston did the similar type of deal against Miami, where I remember, like, for example, when they ran the pick and roll and put Peyton Pritchard on Jimmy Butler, what they did was like they brought another man, Boston did, and Peyton, which allowed Peyton to flash back to his original man and then get it back unscrambled. And they did that pretty well. So I'm guessing if they do not double Steph, that they'll run that similar defensive scheme. But also, I mean, I think speaking of Jayson Tatum, I think he'll end up taking Klay Thompson. So that's like the two big guns right there. I think Jaylen Brown may take turns with Jayson Tatum guarding Andrew Wiggins. And then I don't think I have to worry about Al Horford, even though he's Old Faithful, but he's not that old of a young man, that he could stay step for step with Draymond. And then if Robert Williams is healthy, especially, he can help take out Kevon Looney or the other big I mentioned earlier. So, I mean, in terms of rebounding purposes, and Daniel Tice off the bench can help with that. So I think the matchups favor Boston a lot. So what are your thoughts on matchups, like how both teams favor each other? Like, do you get the edge of Golden State or do you get the edge of Boston?
No, I'm kind of in line with your thinking. I give the edge to Boston and in matchups. I think in certain areas too, where maybe it might be unconventional to give the edge to Boston. I think if you look at Golden State, they've got maybe two of the best 3-point shooters of all time in Klay and in Steph. But when you look at it, just look at 3-point attempts from the Western Conference Finals. Golden State had 4 guys with 18 or more. Boston had 7, and Boston had an extra game, a couple games there, but the margin is so stark. Once I think it was Jordan Poole had 18, and then the next closest guy I think is Draymond with 6. So those top 4, Poole, Wiggins, Curry, Thompson. Then outside of that, they've got guys that can shoot like Draymond and Lee. But when you look at it, they haven't taken a lot of attempts. Whereas Boston, going back to the Milwaukee series, Grant Williams had 16 3-point attempts in one game. And then you look up and down their lineup, they've got a lot of guys that can hit the 3. So yes, Golden State has the 2 best maybe ever, but Boston, I think collectively, is it blasphemous to say collectively might be the better 3-point shooting team? When just as in total volume of guys that can get it done with a level of consistency and a level of volume. So, I think that's one surprising matchup just looking at shooting. And then defensively, I'm in line with a lot of your thinking as far as you put Smart on Curry, you get Curry frustrated. Getting Curry frustrated, it's like, there are certain stars you don't want to get frustrated. I think Curry, though, is a lot like a quarterback under pressure tends to play worse and make more mistakes and that. And I tend to, personal opinion on Curry is that if you can get him frustrated, that's when he starts missing threes. That's when he, who was it recently? Somebody critiqued Curry, one of his peers in the NBA. I'm trying to remember if I think it was somebody that was retired, but they just said when it comes to Steph Curry, he is awesome at draining threes when, if he's up 8. As soon as he's down a couple points, that's when the misses start happening. So for me, like I tend to agree with you as far as matchups. I think Boston matches up really well defensively. And I think too, you got to remember Golden State is they are the seasoned team. I know Jared was wanting to make the point that they've got the experience in that, but Boston might be a little bit more fleet of foot from top to bottom, just at this point in guys' careers. So
yeah, and just to your point, Golden State's shooting almost 50% from the field. You think that they have the advantage there, but to your point, let's go back to the Memphis series right quick. You see how much Golden State really struggled against Memphis? And that was without Ja Morant for 3 games, right? And then also you keep in mind that they didn't have what's the defensive stopper went to Oregon?
Brooks.
Yeah, Dylan Brooks. They essentially didn't have him for 2 games because remember, he was kicked out of game 2 for a hard foul, right?
Right.
And then he was suspended for game 3. So even though Memphis won game 2, they surely needed him in game 3. In game 4, he came back very tentative. So, Dallas didn't have a chance. You remember I was the moron who picked Dallas because I figured Dallas was playing with house money. And I didn't realize how wrong I was. Good Lord, it wasn't even a series. But
I don't know what happened against Phoenix because I honestly, and it's hard to say, it's hard to play devil's advocate, and it's hard to play the hypothetical game because obviously they lost to Dallas, so how could I even step out and say it? But I think that Phoenix probably matched up against Golden State better than Dallas. I think that would have been probably a more entertaining series. But something happened, where they just could not figure out Luka, and I don't know. I think the issue Dallas ran into is that you're relying on Jalen Brunson and you're relying on Spencer Dinwiddie to be more than what they had been they were more against Phoenix, but in fantastic series, but then it was just you couldn't count on them to keep that up, right. Because they are who they are, and so when you're counting on them to be part of a 3-headed monster versus what the Warriors bring at you, I think that's the Warriors. in my opinion, had a bit of a cakewalk to the finals. You know, sorry,
First, yeah,
you didn't have to
Denver,
play. You didn't have to play
yeah.
against Ja Morant. You didn't have to play, like you said, against Dillon Brooks. Then you get to the Mavericks team that played hero ball against the Suns, and then for whatever reason had them figured out way more than Golden State. And I mean, there were times in that Western Conference Finals when it looked like Luka was just like, yeah, like this
It's like
is
he checked out the Cancun
yep. The
mentally.
inevitable is occurring right now. Yeah.
Man, you know, it also didn't help that Phoenix should have hit the broadside of a barn in Game 7 at their place, which is
Yeah.
odd.
Yeah.
Still to this day was very. I don't know if they're feeling the pressure. I don't know. I don't want to say it needs to be out of choke. That's dangerous. But I would say that the pressure. I mean, it's like I think to see Chris Paul and Devin Booker fold like cheap tents. That was just. And then the combination of it all when with Coach Monty Williams like benched DeAndre Ayton for the second half, almost in its entirety. It says spoke volumes as well. I mean, Phoenix just was not ready. Which again, which sucked because to your point, it not only would have been a better series for Phoenix, it would have been, I think it would have gone 6. It would have gone at least 6.
Yeah.
I mean, it would have been a more fodder, more of a competition for Golden State. But you can't help who you play in front of you. It is what it is, right?
Right. And if anything, the Western Conference Finals exposed how much more help Luka needs in Dallas. I mean,
yes, that part. You hear that, Mark Cuban? That part. Okay. It's not all on Jason Kidd. He did a hell of a job, but Luka needs help. So getting back to the finals, we talked about matchups. We talked about the coaching tree that's Greg Popovich with Ime Udoka and Steve Kerr. This is going to be hard as a Knicks fan. This is going to probably suck for me, but this is Boston's series to lose. With Boston, the gauntlet that they went through, remember, they had the opportunity to rest the guys, not face Brooklyn in the first round. But they're like, nah. Their mentality was, we're going to probably face those boys anyway. And the players might as well get them out of the way now. And boy, did they. They swept them. And then they ousted Milwaukee, albeit without Chris Middleton, who's arguably their closer.
Right.
But, Milwaukee was still the defending champs for a reason, right? Giannis is still Giannis. And Drew Holiday had a decent series as well, especially when it was a Game 5 that they won in the Garden to force the Game 6. Because when Marcus Smart tried to play hero ball.
Yeah, that was the game Tatum went off, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that was the game went off in that game, and Marcus Smart negated that by playing hero ball at the end. And Drew Holiday stuffed him not once but twice defensively, that block, and then he picked his pocket and sealed the game. So, Milwaukee's still a tough squad. I still contend that whoever won that series will not only make the finals, but probably win the whole thing anyway. But then you go through Miami. That was, it wasn't that much a hero. People would thought it would be hero ball with Jimmy Butler, right, doing the heavy lifting, especially in Game 6. Man. But I think he ran out of gas at the end of Game 7 when he pulled up for the 3, which I thought was the right shot. I have no problem with him going for the win because he played every minute of Game 7, and he had tired legs. His team probably had tired legs. He's like, they had no business being that close because they were outplayed. Just Boston made a lot of mistakes.
Right. They made a great run there in the last couple of minutes to even make it close at the end.
Yeah, they had no business being like, well, it should have been a blowout.
Yeah.
That just goes to the testament of the Heat's toughness, and Boston was shooting themselves in the foot with mistakes. But I had no problem with Jimmy Butler taking that 3. No problem with that whatsoever. Get the win, get the hell out of Dodge, and Brad Steph will go to State. I have no problem with that. It would have been a heck of a win. It would have been a steal, a true steal of a win. Right. But but be that as it may, I think that it's messed up that Tyler Hero suffered that groin injury.
Mm-hmm.
I would have loved to see him at full strength coming off the bench and for the last 3 games of the series. Although Victor Oladipo tried the best he could.
Mm-hmm.
Kyle Lowry tried the best he could.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like the Heat were had a bunch of sideshow watchers of, Bam played a good series, I thought. But yeah. I think the name of the game for the offseason of Miami is to be more consistent.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I agree. And I think I saw an interesting article that argued that the Heat are kind of in between generations. When you look at how their team is built, as far as a lot of veterans that are really close to the end, and then a lot of young guys that are kind of just on the precipice of, who they might be one day. And the writer argued that, if the Heat want to stay in contention, they need to pick a direction. I don't necessarily agree with that entirely. I think that having a good mix of youth and vets is a good formula for a championship team. But I think that where there's credence in that argument is maybe perhaps down the stretch where some of those older guys just kind of fell flat in certain areas, and so they might need to look at retooling the bench a little bit. But no, I 100% agree on that Jimmy Butler shot. I thought all the criticism that he got after that game was silly, because Boston did have, they had a decent lead with just a few to go. I was like, okay, this is over. And then all of a sudden, Marcus Smart takes a couple dumb shots, and
he went Marcus Smart.
Yeah, yes.
He went like the Boston Stories would say, he went Marcus Smart on him. He just gabbed all over his butt. Go ahead.
And the Heat were right back in it, and you had all the momentum was behind you when you take that shot. So I 100% agree with that as well. Yeah. But I also think we have to also maybe touch on Boston and just their mettle to be able to withstand that late surge by Miami in that game. I thought Tatum had a lot of moments late in the game and in the fourth quarter where he was making some key shots. So he made a few shots. I remember just thinking, I can't believe that went in, and just, couple like not just like some turnarounds in the baseline where it's just like, that seems like a bad shot selection. And so I think, our first playoff show that you had, and you had me and Jared on, I kind of said this playoff, this is where maybe we start seeing the legacy of Tatum a little bit, and who he might be as far as, at the end of his career, how it's written. And I think that, that's kind of proven true through each round. And I think now he's got a chance going into the finals to continue to cement that. So.
Yeah. And, he's on the cusp. Jayson Tatum is on the cusp of superstar, to your point. Because, we've been wanting to anoint him as the next superstar, but then he has games like against Miami, some against this Miami series, some games against Milwaukee, where you're like, dude, what, and that's how far he's come, that we kind of nitpicking at him, you know what I'm saying? But he's right there. He's literally right there as superstar. I think if Boston were to win it, and if he has a good series, I think he'll be a superstar.
Yeah, I'd agree. And I think, I would say I think Giannis was already a superstar last year, but I also think that him winning last year was more, there was an anointing into, that upper echelon. And I'd also think we have to look at what Boston did in the first round, taking care of Brooklyn. Brooklyn's roster was awful because of, the decisions they had made to get Harden initially and then move on from him. And then the Ben Simmons soap opera and all that. So it wasn't what it was, but I think that you still have to look at, they beat Kyrie and they beat Kevin Durant, and that, there's something to be said for that. And so they haven't had any easy series yet, and I think that they've definitely been more battle tested coming in these finals in comparison to the Warriors, who, we talked about it earlier, very contrasting route that they've had to the finals.
Yeah, that's what you mean by styles make fights. All defense and toughness, free flowing offense, and toughness too, because they're
Yeah.
both disciples of Greg Popovich. Which leads me to the final portion of this particular preview. I got Boston itself. Again, it hurts me to say as a Knicks fan, but again, well, two things that Boston have in this favor. A, they match up better with Golden State, especially defensively. They could rotate again, have Marcus Smart hound the hell out of Stephen Curry. When Golden State brings the pick and roll, double team Curry's ass right away. Get the ball out of his hands. Make him just make him a, I don't want to say he's bad as a playmaker, but he's less effective. He's not shooting. Does that make sense? Make other people not necessarily count like Klay Thompson, but make other cats beat you. Make Wiggins beat you. Make Wiggins work. All right. Because if I'm not mistaken, Wiggins may start for Jayson Tatum on defense. So wear him down that way. At least wear him down so they'll cancel out his effectiveness fifth side of the ball. But yeah, just double team Steph, and you got either Tatum or Jaylen Brown on Klay Thompson. The other guy take Wiggins. I already mentioned Al Horford, possibly negating the Draymond Green effects. That both have high basketball IQs. I think Horford's better defensively. Not to say that Green is bad defensively. He's not. He's damn good defensively. His IQ is through the roof. But I think Boston has this distinct advantage that way. They're not as deep as Golden State, and they don't have the championship experience like Steve Kerr has been there, done that. Hell, half the squad has been there. Their core has been there, done that. I just think with the matchups, combined with the fact that Boston knows how to win on the road. I mean, if you go back to the previous series, if I'm not mistaken, Boston won 3 times on Miami's home floor, including the game 7.
Yeah.
Because they won game 2, they won game 5, and they won game 7.
Yeah.
And they've been doing it throughout the playoffs. Of course, they did it in sweeping Brooklyn, but they won at Milwaukee a couple of times, and they won in Miami 3 times. So it's not like, and plus, if you really look at it, Golden State's new San Francisco Arena, or newish, it's not like the Oracle Arena in Oakland. It's nothing like it. They don't have the same ambiance. It doesn't have the same home court feel that the Oakland fans brought to the table. I mean, let's just be real. These are wine and cheese fans in San Francisco. I mean, let's just be real. It's not the same. It's not the same as playing in Oaktown. It's not the same as playing in Oakland. So Boston has those, and they're not scared of Golden State. So I think it's gonna be a hell of a series. I'm hoping that's a long series. But again, the Knicks fan in me hates to do this, but I'm going with Boston in 7.
Yeah, just kind of preparing for this, and just my own interest, looking across different networks, different experts. Most experts who are picking the Warriors are picking the Warriors in 7. Most experts who are picking the Celtics are picking them in 6. I tend to lean with you, and wish that I could be, even play devil's advocate just to make it more compelling for you. And if Jared was here, he could fill that role.
Jared could definitely do it.
So, and just I know Jared had kind of texted us or messaged us on Twitter beforehand saying I'm going with the Warriors, more experience. So
right.
Wore the SCLSU Mud Dogs hat tonight from Waterboy to show that the team with more championship pedigree doesn't always win. Sometimes it's the tougher team, and so I'm going with the Celtics. I think that just that I like their gritty play. I like their deep. Like I said, it's one of the best defenses we've seen in a really long time in the NBA. The defense that the Celtics have played this year, and when I look at it, I agree. I think it's going to go 7. Just for the sake of being silly, I'd say Golden State takes 1, Boston takes game 2, Golden State takes game 3, Boston takes games 4 and 5, Golden State takes game 6, and Boston takes game 7. So that's how I think it's gonna go. I think that Tatum will kind of cement himself this series as putting himself up there with the top superstars in the game. And yeah, I think the Celtics win.
Yeah. Now, right quick before we could close the show, where'd you get that hat? I gotta have that hat. Where'd you get that hat? That's awesome. You brought the Waterboy reference. It was one of my favorite Adam Sandler movies. Like that's why I said, Mama said, Mama said, Mama said, like, because he kept throwing that too. And I forget the actress's name who played his mom. She's hilarious. She's a great actress herself.
Kathy Bates.
Kathy Bates, yes, awesome. She was awesome in this movie. But scary too. But that movie was classic. That fried alligator. Classic. But where'd you get that hat?
Actually, one of my best friends actually got this hat for me. He ordered it for himself, and he got me one just because we always kind of quote the movie and joke around about it. But I can ask him for you. But
yeah, cool.
But yeah, no, I want to go out on this just as a Cavs fan, just to rub it in to This was the last time the Warriors won a title without Kevin Durant. Wasn't that 2015? And no Kyrie Irving, no Kevin Love. So
right.
Yeah.
There you go. Hey, speaking of which, I'm glad you brought that up because I was thinking about this earlier. How funny is that that Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving left their teams, recent teams,
right?
And both teams made it to the finals eventually. How hilarious is that?
Yeah. Yep. That goes to show you. Yeah.
Yeah. But I will say this. If Golden State does end up winning, if Jared is proven to be correct, which would surprise me if Golden State takes home the title,
right.
That'll be Stephen Curry's fourth title.
Yes.
So to me, to do it without Kevin Durant, that would probably put him in top 5, I think.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that would mean more too. And I think, he's even said like, he said he knows how many LeBron has, and because I think LeBron's at 4 right now. And so people talk about LeBron chasing Jordan. And so Curry's even kind of self-admittedly like saying like, yeah, I'm chasing LeBron. Yeah, I want to have as many as he has, but I think you're right. I think that we start talking about him in a different light, career legacy wise, if he gets one, especially another one without KD.
Yeah, because I'm still one of those stubborn people who thinks that Magic Johnson is the best player of all time. 6'9" point guard, only rookie to win rookie MVP, finals MVP rather in 1986 against the 76ers. Played center in place of Kareem Abdul-Jabbar in Game 6. So to me, winning 5 titles, I know he lost some finals, but he had that gap named Larry Bird and Jules Irving to contend with in the 80s. But to see a 6'9" point guard, I think that he's great. That's why I think he's the greatest player of all time. He can do it all, could guard 5 positions, could play 5 positions. But I think if Stephen Curry were to win this without Kevin Durant, I almost got to come out of my old guy shoes, my old guy stance, and put him as perhaps the greatest, if not one of the greatest point guards, 1A and 1B. I have to put him up there if he does this without Kevin Durant, which would be well-deserved. So he has that a lot of legacies on the line there. But I'm going to get you on this one more thing. Darvin Ham, head coach of the LA Lakers. How do you think this is going to work
out? I think it was a good hire. I think it was between him and Terry Stotts, and I think if they had hired Stotts, I tweeted out that kind of would have felt like they were just kind of doing what they had done, already with the guy they just fired. As far as like with Vogel as the guy that sorry, my baby's crying.
No, that's okay. I'll get you out on here. Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, and so Ham is I think more of a one.
Don't worry about it. It's cool.
Players I like the hire. I think they should have done. They kind of did what they should have done last year, as far as taking the top assistant from a championship team and hiring him, as far as passing on Jason Kidd and going with Darvin Ham.
Okay, cool. All right, Dad. I'll let you be. I'll let you attend to the little one, man. Thanks a lot for joining me, man. And we'll talk next week, man. Hopefully with Jared as well. So stay cool, man.
And I appreciate it. Thanks, Scott.
No worries. And by the way, please continue to check out the podcast, subscribe, like, comment, and share. Also check out the website, www.theclowntalk.net. Go to cafe.press, search for the Clown Talk Sports to get some merch. Thank y'all for tuning in. Until next time, have a great NBA Finals. Peace out.